The funeral was on a Tuesday, which felt wrong somehow. Funerals should be on overcast Saturdays or solemn Sundays, not on a random Tuesday afternoon when the rest of the world was still pretending life mattered. But there I was, standing in a borrowed black dress that hung too loose on my frame, watching them lower a woman I'd never met into the ground. Callum stood beside me, his hand possessively gripping my elbow. Not for comfort. Never for comfort. His fingers dug into my skin hard enough to leave marks, a silent warning disguised as support. To everyone watching, we were the grieving couple. To me, we were predator and prey, and the cemetery was just another stage for his performance. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Smile a little, he hissed through his teeth, his face arranged in practiced sorrow. You look like you're being tortured. I wasn't being tortured. Torture would have been honest. This was something worse. This was the slow erasure of whatever person I used to be before Callum Westbrook decided I was worth owning. The minister droned on about eternal rest and divine mercy. I counted the crows perched in the oak tree behind the grave. 7 of them. All watching with the same detached interest I felt watching my own life unfold. When had I become a spectator to my own existence? Isabel Hartley was a pillar of this community, the minister said, and I felt Callum's grip tighten. A philanthropist, a visionary, and a woman who understood that true wealth lies not in what we accumulate, but in what we give away. Isabel Hartley. My grandmother. A woman I'd been told was dead since I was 6 years old. That's what my mother had said, at least. Your grandmother died before you were born, sweetheart. She's with the angels now. 23 years of that lie, unquestioned and accepted, until 3 weeks ago when a man in a gray suit knocked on the door of the studio apartment Callum had moved me into after I'd, accidentally, sublet my old place to his cousin. Ms. Vaughn? Isabel Hartley's granddaughter. I'd almost closed the door. Almost. But something in his eyes had stopped me, urgency mixed with relief, like he'd been searching for years and had finally found what he was looking for. I don't know who that is, I'd said. Your grandmother, Miss Vaughn. She passed away 4 days ago. I'm Theodore Chun, her estate attorney. We've been trying to locate you for quite some time. Your grandmother left very specific instructions regarding her estate, and you're named as the primary beneficiary. Primary beneficiary. The words had meant nothing to me then. Just sounds strung together, official and meaningless. I'd let him in because Callum wasn't home, and when Callum wasn't home, I could still make tiny decisions for myself. Theodore Chun had sat on our second-hand couch and explained that Isabel Hartley, philanthropist and founder of Hartley Industries, had spent the last decade searching for the granddaughter who'd vanished after her daughter, my mother, had cut all ties and changed both their names. She never stopped looking, Theodore had said. Even when the cancer diagnosis came, she made finding you her priority. She wanted you to know the truth before she died, but he'd trailed off and I understood. Too late. Always too late. Now I stood at her grave, and all I could think about was how Callum had reacted when I'd told him. A dead grandmother you never met leaves you money, and you're acting like this is some fairy tale? He'd laughed, that sharp bark of amusement he deployed whenever I said something he found particularly stupid. Wake up, Isabel. This is probably a scam. Some con artist saw your name in a phone book and decided to play pretend. He had documents, I'd said quietly. Legal documents with my birth name, my mother's real name. Your birth name? Callum had crossed the room in 3 strides, backing me against the kitchen counter. What birth name? Your Isabel Vaughn. That's the only name that matters. Before my mother changed it. When I was 6, we nothing. His hand had come up to cup my face, gentle in the way a scientist might hold a fragile specimen. You're confused, baby. Stress does that. Makes you believe crazy stories. Good thing you have me to keep you grounded, right? I'd nodded because nodding was easier than the alternative. But I'd also kept Theodore Chen's card, hidden inside the spine of a cookbook Callum would never think to open. The funeral ended. People filed past me offering condolences for a woman they assumed I'd known and loved. I accepted their words with the same mechanical precision I'd learned to apply to everything in my life. Nod. Smile softly. Say thank you, without making eye contact. Survive. Callum kept his hand on my elbow, steering me toward the parking lot where his Tesla waited, gleaming black and expensive, purchased with the last of my savings 6 months ago when his sure-thing cryptocurrency investment had tanked. That car had cost me everything I'd managed to hide from him, the emergency fund I'd been building from tips I didn't declare, from birthday checks from my mother's sister I'd pretended never arrived. We should go straight home, Callum said, opening the passenger door for me with exaggerated courtesy. You look exhausted. Probably coming down with something. Maybe you should take tomorrow off work. I slid into the car, the leather cold against my bare legs. Take tomorrow off work meant, stay home where I can watch you, where you can't talk to anyone, where you can't make plans I don't know about. I can't, I said. We're short-staffed, and I've already missed 2 days this week for your fake grandmother's funeral? Callum interrupted, starting the car. Yeah, I'm sure the coffee shop is really struggling without their star barista. The coffee shop, Empire Brew on 4th Street, where I worked 40 hours a week, making minimum wage plus tips that never quite covered the bills Callum said were mine to handle. He worked too, theoretically. Business development consultant was what his LinkedIn said, though I'd never seen him actually consult with anyone except his mirror. The lawyer said we need to meet tomorrow. I ventured carefully. For the reading of the will. It's at 10 a.m., downtown. I checked, and I could catch the bus after my shift ends at 9, so I wouldn't miss much work. We're not going. I turned to look at him. Callum kept his eyes on the road, his jaw set in that particular way that meant the discussion was over before it began. But the inheritance is probably nothing. Or worse, probably debt. Rich people don't actually give away money, Isabel. They die owing it. Banks, creditors, tax collectors, they all come calling. And guess who they come after? The naive granddaughter, who thinks she just won the lottery. He reached over and patted my knee, his hand lingering too long, pressing too hard. I'm protecting you. You'll thank me later. We drove in silence, through streets I barely recognized anymore. When I'd first met Callum 3 years ago at a gallery opening I'd crashed with my roommate, he'd seemed like salvation. Confident, successful, interested in me, plain, ordinary me, with my state school degree and my dead-end job and my complete lack of direction. He'd said I was beautiful. He'd said I was special. He'd said he wanted to take care of me. I hadn't realized that take care of and take control of were the same sentence with different emphasis. My phone buzzed. Callum's hand shot out, snatching it from my purse before I could react. Who's texting you? He swiped through my notifications, his face darkening. Theodore Chen? Why is a lawyer texting you directly? I thought you said all communication went through his office. I don't know, I said, which was true. Maybe it's just a reminder about tomorrow. Callum read the message aloud, his voice mocking. Ms. Vaughn, it's imperative we meet tomorrow as scheduled. Your grandmother's estate is time-sensitive, and there are parties interested in contesting the will. Please confirm you'll attend. Parties interested in contesting? He laughed. See? I told you. This whole thing is a mess. We're not getting involved. He deleted the message before I could stop him, then turned off my phone entirely and shoved it into his pocket. You don't need this tonight. You need rest. I'll take care of everything. We pulled into the parking garage beneath our building. The studio apartment Callum had found for us was on the 14th floor of a high-rise that looked expensive from the outside and fell apart once you walked through the lobby. The elevator smelled like cigarettes and desperation. Callum hummed tunelessly as we rode up, scrolling through his own phone, checking his stocks or his sports bets or whatever he did with money he didn't have. Inside the apartment, he finally released my elbow. My skin throbbed where his fingers had been. I went straight to the bathroom, closing the door and locking it before he could follow. In the mirror, I looked like a stranger. When had my face gotten so hollow? When had my eyes developed that flat, dead quality? I turned on the shower to mask any sound and pulled out the business card I'd hidden inside my bra that morning. Theodore Chen, attorney at law. His number was printed in simple black font. No nonsense. Professional. Real. I'd memorized it days ago, just in case. The shower ran. I sat on the closed toilet lid and let myself imagine, just for a moment, what it might mean if this was real. If my grandmother, this woman I'd never known, this woman my mother had erased from our lives, had actually left me something. Not debt, not problems, but something real. Money couldn't buy happiness. I knew that intellectually. But money could buy choices, and choices were something I hadn't had in a very long time. A knock on the bathroom door made me jump. Isabel. Callum's voice was gentle now, coaxing. Baby, you've been in there a while. You okay? I flushed the toilet, ran the water in the sink.
Fine.
Just needed a minute. Come to bed. I'll rub your back, make you feel better. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I opened the door. Callum stood there in his boxer briefs, handsome and terrible, offering me a smile that once would have made me feel loved. Now, it just made me tired. I think I should go tomorrow, I said, the words escaping before I could stop them. To the lawyer's office. Just to see what this is about. Just to close it out properly so we know for sure. His smile didn't waver, but something shifted behind his eyes. We already talked about this. I know, but... Isabel. He stepped closer, and I instinctively stepped back, my spine hitting the bathroom doorframe. Are you questioning my judgment? After everything I've done for you? After I took you in when you had nothing, when you were just some lost girl with no direction and no future. I'm not questioning anything, I just think. You think. He laughed softly, shaking his head. That's your problem, baby. You think too much about the wrong things. You should be thinking about us, about our future, about the life we're building. Not about some dead woman's money. She was my grandmother. She was a stranger. His hand came up to my face again, thumb stroking my cheek in a parody of affection. And strangers don't give away fortunes to granddaughters they never met. This is a trap, Isabel.
A scam.
And I love you too much to let you walk into it. I love you. He said it like a weapon, like a chain, like a lock clicking shut. Okay, I whispered. Okay, you're right. I know I am. He kissed my forehead, gentle and possessive. Now come to bed. Tomorrow's a new day, and we'll forget all about this nonsense. I followed him to the bed we shared, this man who'd systematically dismantled every part of my life until I couldn't remember what I used to be before him. I lay in the dark listening to his breathing even out into sleep, and I thought about my mother. She'd left when I was 6, changed both our names, and disappeared into a life I barely remembered. I'd always wondered why she'd run, why she'd erased our past so completely. Now, lying in the dark with Callum's arm thrown possessively across my waist, I thought I might understand. My phone was still in his pocket, but I had Theodore Chen's number memorized. And the coffee shop had a phone behind the counter. And my shift started at 6 a.m., 3 hours before Callum ever woke up. Tomorrow I would go to work. And maybe, just maybe, I would make a phone call. Maybe I would choose something for myself. Maybe. The word felt dangerous and delicious, a secret I held against my chest in the dark. Callum snored beside me, confident in his control, confident I was exactly where he wanted me. He didn't know about the woman I used to be, before I'd learned to be small and quiet and agreeable. He didn't know about the fury I'd been swallowing for 3 years, storing it somewhere deep and dark where it grew and festered and waited. He didn't know my grandmother had been looking for me. He didn't know someone had wanted to find me. I closed my eyes and counted crows until sleep finally came. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. I silenced it before Callum could stir, slipping out of bed with the practiced silence of someone who'd learned to be invisible. In the bathroom, I dressed in my coffee shop uniform, black jeans, black shirt, green apron. The person in the mirror looked tired but present.
Real.
I found my phone on Callum's nightstand where he'd left it, still powered off. I turned it on, deleted my passcode that he'd made me share with him, and changed it to something new. Something mine. Then I slipped it into my pocket and left the apartment without looking back. The bus ride to Empire Brew took 20 minutes. The city was just waking up, dawn painting the buildings in shades of pink and gold that seemed almost hopeful. I watched the streets roll past and felt something unfamiliar stirring in my chest. Anticipation. Empire Brew was already buzzing when I arrived. Tasha, the opening manager, looked up from the espresso machine with relief. Thank God. Derek called in sick again, and we've got a line already. I tied my apron and got to work. Lattes and cappuccinos and Americanos, the familiar rhythm of steaming milk and pulling shots. It was mindless work, which meant it was safe work. My hands knew what to do while my mind spun through possibilities. At 7:30, during the brief lull before the mid-morning rush, I asked Tasha if I could use the store phone. Personal call? She raised an eyebrow but handed over the cordless. Make it quick. Rush starts at 8. I dialed Theodore Chen's number from memory. He answered on the second ring. Chen and Associates. This is Isabel Vaughn, I said quietly, turning away from the counter. We were supposed to meet this morning about my grandmother's estate. Ms. Vaughn. Relief flooded his voice. Yes, thank God. I was worried when you didn't respond to my text. Can you make it to the office by 10? I looked at Tasha, at the clock, at the life I'd been living. Yes. Excellent. Please bring identification. And Ms. Vaughn?
Come alone.
This is important. The terms of your grandmother's will specifically state that you must be present without any third-party interference. She was very particular about that.
Come alone.
Without any third-party interference. My grandmother, this woman I'd never met, had known.
Somehow, she'd known.
I'll be there, I said. I worked until 9, my mind racing through scenarios. Callum would be awake by now, would be wondering where I was, would be calling my phone. I'd deal with that later. Right now, I had somewhere to be. The law offices of Chen and Associates occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower downtown. I gave my name to the receptionist, and within minutes, Theodore Chen appeared, the same man in the gray suit, but somehow more substantial here in his own territory. Ms. Vaughn, thank you for coming. Please follow me. His office overlooked the city, all sleek lines and expensive furniture. He gestured to a chair, then took his seat behind an imposing desk covered in neat stacks of documents. I want to be direct with you, he said. Your grandmother's estate is substantial. The exact numbers are complex, involving multiple trusts, properties, and investments, but the simple truth is this. Isabel Hartley left you approximately $200 million. The words didn't make sense. I heard them, understood them individually, but together they were just noise. 200 million, I repeated. Give or take a few million for taxes and administrative fees. But yes, essentially $200 million. Properties in 7 states, a controlling interest in Hartley Industries, various investment portfolios, and a considerable amount of liquid assets. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. Theodore pushed a glass of water across the desk, and I drank it mechanically. There are conditions, he continued. Your grandmother was very specific. First, you cannot share any information about this inheritance with anyone until the will is fully executed and all paperwork is finalized. This includes partners, family members, friends, anyone. The inheritance will be held in trust until you sign the necessary documents, which will take approximately 30 days. 30 days, I echoed. During that time, you'll need to maintain your current life exactly as it is. Don't quit your job, don't change your living situation, don't give any indication that your circumstances have changed. Your grandmother believed very strongly that you needed protection from people who might try to exploit you, and this waiting period is designed to give you time to prepare. Protection, I said, and thought of Callum's hand on my elbow, his voice telling me I was nothing without him. There's more. Theodore pulled out a thick folder. Your grandmother left you several letters. She wanted you to understand why she structured the inheritance this way, why she disappeared from your life, why she spent years looking for you. He paused. She also left information about your mother. My mother. The woman who'd saved me by running. The woman who'd known. Can I read them? I asked. They're yours. Theodore handed me the folder. Take your time. I'll give you privacy. He left, closing the door behind him. I opened the folder with shaking hands. The first letter was dated 3 weeks before my grandmother died. Her handwriting was elegant, flowing, nothing like the harsh block letters Callum used when he left me passive-aggressive notes about dishes or laundry, or all the ways I disappointed him. My dearest Isabel, I'm writing this knowing I may never get to say these words to your face. The cancer is winning, and time is a luxury I no longer have. But I need you to know the truth, even if I'm not there to tell it. Your mother, my daughter Catherine, left when you were 6 years old because I was a monster. Not in the obvious ways. I never hit her, never screamed, never did any of the things we typically associate with abuse. But I controlled her. Every decision, every friendship, every dream she had, I crushed under the weight of my expectations and my money. When she met your father, a kind man with no wealth and no pedigree, I threatened to disown her. She married him anyway, and I made good on my threat. I cut her off completely, thinking she'd come crawling back.
She didn't.
She built a life with him, had you, and was happy. Then your father died in a car accident when you were 3, and I saw my chance. I swooped in with lawyers and money and custody battles, not because I wanted to help, but because I wanted to win. I wanted to prove I'd been right, that she couldn't survive without me. By the time you were 6, I'd made your mother's life so miserable that she did the only thing she could. She ran. She changed your names, disappeared, and built a new life away from my money and my control. I spent years trying to find her, not because I loved her, but because I couldn't stand losing. It took cancer and the very real prospect of death to make me understand what I'd done. I'd used my wealth as a weapon, turned love into ownership, and driven away the only people who truly mattered. By then, it was too late to apologize to your mother. She died 2 years ago. Yes, I found her, but only after she was gone. But I could still find you. I've spent the last decade searching, hoping to do one thing right before I die. This inheritance isn't a gift, Isabel. It's a responsibility and a warning. Money can be freedom, but it can also be a prison. Use it wisely. Use it to build a life your mother would be proud of. And trust no one who tries to control it for you. With all the love I should have shown sooner. Your grandmother, Isabel Hartley. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. My mother was dead. Had been dead for 2 years, and I'd never known. She'd saved me by running, had given me those years of freedom before I'd stupidly handed it away to Callum. But now I had something she'd wanted for me. I had choices. I had money. I had power. And I had 30 days to figure out what to do with it. My phone buzzed. 15 missed calls from Callum. 10 text messages, each one escalating from concern to anger. Where are you? Why isn't your phone on?
This isn't funny, Isabel.
You better have a good explanation. I'm calling the police.
Fine.
Don't come home. See if I care. I turned the phone off. Theodore knocked and entered when I called out. Are you all right? He asked gently. My mother's dead.
I know. I'm sorry.
Your grandmother tried to reconnect with her before she passed, but Catherine was. He trailed off. Smart enough to stay away, I finished. Perhaps. He sat down across from me. Now, let's discuss the practical matters. You have a partner, correct? The man who came with you to the funeral?
Callum.
Yes. Your grandmother's investigators compiled a report on everyone in your life. It's here if you want to read it. He pulled out another folder, this one thinner. But I can summarize. Callum Westbrook has no legitimate income, has debt exceeding $200,000, and has a history of targeting women with potential access to money or resources. Targeting, I said numbly. He's done this before. 3 times, that we found. Each relationship ended when the woman either ran out of money or figured out what he was doing. You're not the first, Ms. Vaughn. But you have the chance to be the last, the one who got away with something he can never touch. The one who got away. The phrase rattled around in my head, colliding with 3 years of carefully constructed lies I'd told myself. That Callum loved me. That I was lucky to have him. That I was nothing without him. What do? I asked. For the next 30 days? Exactly what you've been doing. Go home. Act normal. Don't let him suspect anything has changed. We'll have everything ready in a month, and then you can walk away clean. New identity if you want it, security, the full resources of your grandmother's estate behind you. And if I can't wait 30 days? Theodore's expression softened. Then we'll do what we can to protect you. But the inheritance terms are ironclad. If you violate them, if you tell anyone, if you change your circumstances before the waiting period ends, the entire estate goes to charity. Your grandmother wanted to be sure you were protected from people like Callum, but she also wanted to test you. To see if you could be patient, strategic, strong. Strong. I hadn't felt strong in years. But maybe that was about to change. I can wait, I said. 30 days. I can do that. Good. Theodore stood, extending his hand. In the meantime, if you need anything, if you feel unsafe, if the situation escalates, you call me immediately.
Day or night?
Your grandmother set up an emergency fund specifically for situations like this. We can get you out. I shook his hand, feeling the first stirrings of something I'd almost forgotten.
Hope.
I left the office and stepped back into the bright morning sun.
My phone buzzed again.
Callum, of course. Always Callum, tightening his grip, making sure I knew he was watching. I turned the phone back on and called him. Where the hell have you been? He shouted before I could say hello. At work. My phone died, and I forgot my charger. You forgot your charger. His voice dripped disbelief. Try again. It's the truth, Callum.
I'm sorry.
I'm on my way home now. Silence. Then, good. Because we need to talk about your little lawyer meeting. My blood went cold. What? Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? I called the coffee shop. They said you left at 9. For an appointment. Want to tell me what that was about? I closed my eyes. Stupid. I'd been stupid and careless, and now. I had a doctor's appointment. I lied. A follow-up from last month. A doctor's appointment you didn't tell me about. It was just routine. I didn't want to worry you. Another pause. Come home, Isabel.
Right now.
We'll discuss this when you get here. He hung up. I stood on the sidewalk, my heart hammering. 30 days. I just had to survive 30 days. I could do this. I could play the part, be the person Callum expected, keep my head down and my mouth shut, and my dreams locked away where he couldn't touch them. I could do this. I had to, because in 30 days, I was going to destroy him. Not physically. Not with violence or cruelty, or any of the weapons he'd used on me. But with something much simpler and much more devastating. I was going to walk away with $200 million, and I was going to leave him with nothing but the memory of the woman he thought he owned. The apartment felt smaller when I walked back in. Callum sat on the couch, my laptop open in front of him, my email displayed on the screen. He'd figured out my new password.
Of course he had.
Doctor's appointment, he said without looking up. Funny, I don't see any confirmation emails. No appointment reminders. Nothing. I set my purse down carefully, keeping my movements slow and non-threatening. I called to make it. They don't always send confirmations. Right. He finally looked at me, and his eyes were flat and cold. You want to try the truth now? Or should we keep playing this game? My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't reach for it. I went to see the lawyer, I said quietly. Theodore Chen. About my grandmother's estate.
The air changed.
Callum stood slowly, closing the laptop with a soft click. After I told you not to. I know. But I needed to know. You needed. He laughed, that sharp bark I'd learned to fear. You needed. When did what you need start mattering more than what we need? More than what I tell you to do. It's my grandmother, Callum. My inheritance. There it is. He crossed the room in 3 strides, backing me against the door. Your inheritance. Suddenly you think you're somebody, don't you? Think you don't need me anymore? That's not. His hand slammed against the door beside my head, making me flinch. How much? What? How much did the dead stranger leave you? Must be something good if you're willing to sneak around behind my back. I thought of Theodore's warning. Tell no one. Not until the 30 days were up. Not until everything was finalized. There is no money, I said, the lie coming easier than I expected.
Just debt. You were right.
The estate is worthless, actually underwater. The lawyer said there are creditors claiming against it, and as the only heir, I might be liable. Callum's eyes narrowed. Liable for what? Over $1 million in unpaid bills, taxes, liens on properties. He said I should refuse the inheritance entirely, that it would only drag me down. I forced myself to meet his gaze. You were right. It was a trap. Something shifted in his expression, relief mixed with vindication. His hand dropped from the door. I told you. Didn't I tell you? Rich people don't give money away, they give problems away. He pulled me into a hug that felt like a cage. Good thing you have me to protect you from your own naivety. I let him hold me, counting seconds until he released me. 15, 16, 17. So, you're not going back? He asked. I have to sign refusal paperwork. But after that, it's done. We can forget the whole thing. Good. He kissed the top of my head. That's my smart girl. Now I'm starving. Make us some lunch. I made sandwiches while Callum returned to the couch, scrolling through his phone. My hands shook as I cut the bread. I'd done it. I'd lied to his face, and he'd believed me. The first small victory in a war I'd been losing for 3 years. 29 days left. That night, Callum was affectionate in the calculated way that meant he wanted something. His hands roamed my body like he was taking inventory, reminding me of who I belonged to. I closed my eyes and went somewhere else in my mind, a place where I was already gone, already free, already standing in sunlight with my grandmother's fortune, making me untouchable. When he finally fell asleep, I retrieved my phone from where I'd hidden it in the bathroom cabinet. A text from Theodore. Are you safe? Yes, I typed back. He believed me. 29 days. 3 dots appeared, then. Be careful. We're monitoring your accounts and communications. If anything changes, call immediately. I deleted the conversation and cleared my message history, then put the phone back in its hiding place. In the dark, I planned. 29 days became 28, then 25, then 20. Each day, I played my part perfectly. I went to work, came home, cooked meals, smiled when told to smile, agreed when agreement was required. I became the ghost of myself, transparent and insubstantial, barely there at all. Callum noticed nothing. Why would he? He'd trained me so well. But inside, I was building something. Theodore sent encrypted documents to the coffee shop, paperwork I could review during my shifts, plans for my exit, security protocols. My grandmother had thought of everything. New bank accounts under my birth name. An apartment already leased and furnished, waiting for me. A security team ready to intervene if needed. She'd built me an escape route from beyond the grave. With 15 days left, Callum lost $2,000 on a sports bet. He handled it by drinking most of a bottle of whiskey and putting his fist through the bathroom mirror. I cleaned up the glass while he passed out on the couch, and I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt nothing at all. With 10 days left, he asked me to marry him. We were eating dinner, takeout Chinese that had cost $60 we didn't have, when he pulled out a ring. Not a real ring, just something cheap and gold-plated that probably came from a department store clearance rack. I know things have been hard, he said, but I love you, Isabel. I want to make this official. What do you say? I looked at the ring, at his face arranged in hopeful expectation, and I understood what this was. A final claim. A legal tie that would make it harder for me to leave, that would give him rights to anything I might acquire. He didn't know about the inheritance, but his instincts were sharp. He sensed something shifting and was trying to lock me down. Yes, I said, because refusing would make him suspicious. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto my finger. It was too tight and turned my skin green within hours. I wore it anyway, this brand he'd given me, and counted down the days. 5 days left. Callum started talking about wedding plans, about how we'd have a small ceremony, just us and maybe a few friends. how we'd go to City Hall next week and make it official. Next week. I agreed, knowing next week I'd be gone. 3 days left. Theodore sent final instructions. The paperwork would be complete in 72 hours. A car would be waiting for me at the coffee shop at exactly 9 a.m. I was to bring nothing but my identification and the clothes on my back. Everything else would be provided. Don't tell him goodbye. Don't leave a note. Just disappear.
2 days left.
Callum was in a good mood, already spending money we didn't have on wedding supplies. A cheap suit for himself. A white dress from a thrift store for me. He hung them both in our closet like promises of a future that would never arrive. 1 day left. I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed beside him, this man who'd stolen years of my life, and felt something dark and powerful unfurling in my chest. Not quite hatred. Hatred would have been too simple. This was something colder. Contempt. Finality. The absolute certainty that after tomorrow, I would never have to be small again. The last morning came. I woke at 5 a.m. as always, dressed in my coffee shop uniform as always, moved through our apartment like a shadow as always. Callum slept through it all, snoring softly, completely secure in his ownership of me. I stopped at the door and looked back one last time. At the cheap furniture we'd bought with my money. At the life I'd been living, small and contained and suffocating. At the man who'd thought he could keep me forever. Goodbye, I whispered to the ghost I was leaving behind. The morning shift passed in a blur. At 8:30, I untied my apron and told Tasha I was quitting.
What? Just like that?
Just like that.
I'm sorry.
You've been good to me. I handed her the apron and walked out before she could respond. Outside, a black town car waited at the curb. Theodore Chin stood beside it. Ms. Vaughn. Ready? Miss Hartley, I corrected. I'm taking back my grandmother's name. He smiled. Ms. Hartley, the paperwork is complete. As of this morning, you are the legal inheritor of the Hartley estate. Everything your grandmother promised is now yours. I got into the car. As we pulled away from the coffee shop, my phone started ringing. Callum, wondering where I was. Why I wasn't answering. Starting to panic as he realized something was wrong. I turned off the phone and handed it to Theodore. I don't need this anymore. We have a new one for you. New number, completely secure. The car drove through the city, away from the 14th floor studio apartment, away from Empire Brew, away from 3 years of systematic erasure. We stopped at a high-rise on the north side, the kind of building with doormen and marble lobbies and the kind of security that keeps people like Callum out. Your apartment, Theodore said, handing me a key card. Penthouse floor. Everything you need is already there. Bank cards, documentation, your grandmother's letters, all of it. I took the elevator up alone. The doors opened directly into the apartment. Not an apartment, a home. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Clean, open space filled with light. Freedom made tangible. A folder waited on the kitchen counter. Inside, bank statements showing $200 million distributed across various accounts, all in my name. Property deeds. Investment portfolios. And one more letter from my grandmother, dated the day she died. Isabel, if you're reading this, you made it. You survived the waiting period, kept the secret, and chose yourself. I'm proud of you. The money is yours to do with as you please. But I hope you'll use it wisely, not to build walls, but to build a life. Your mother wanted you to be free. I want you to be powerful. Not power over others, but power over your own destiny. There's one more thing. I've established a foundation in your mother's name, the Catherine Hartley Foundation for Domestic Violence Prevention and Support. It's funded and operational. If you choose, you can take an active role. Help other women escape what you escaped. Turn your pain into purpose. Or don't. The choice is entirely yours. That's the point of freedom, you get to decide. Live well, my darling granddaughter. Live loudly. Live completely. Love, your grandmother. I stood at the window, looking out at the city spread below me, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone, the new one, buzzed with a text from Theodore. Callum has been to the old apartment. He knows you're gone. Security is monitoring. You're safe. I didn't feel afraid. I felt nothing for him at all. Over the following weeks, I learned to be wealthy, met with financial advisors, toured properties, began understanding the full scope of what my grandmother had built. I cut my hair short, bought clothes that actually fit, started seeing a therapist who specialized in intimate partner abuse. I also visited the Catherine Hartley Foundation, met the staff, reviewed the programs, understood the work being done. Women fleeing violence, being given safe housing, legal support, financial counseling, therapy. Everything I'd needed and hadn't had. I want to be involved, I told the director. Not just as a donor. I want to work. 6 months after leaving Callum, I stood in front of a room full of survivors, telling my story. How money had saved me, but only because I'd been ready to save myself. How freedom was something you chose, over and over again, even when it was terrifying. After the talk, a young woman approached me. She looked how I used to look, hollow-eyed, scared, trapped. "How did you know?" she asked. "How did you know it was time to leave?" I thought about counting crows at a funeral, about a grandmother who'd searched for years, about 30 days of pretending while building an exit. I knew when I remembered I was someone, I said. When I realized I deserved more than survival. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I think I'm someone too." "You are," I told her. "And when you're ready, we'll help you prove it." I never saw Callum again. Heard he'd tried to find me, had gone to the coffee shop, had called Theodore's office making threats and demands. Security handled it all. Eventually, he moved on to someone else, another target, another woman he'd try to own. But he'd never own me again. I lived in my penthouse, managed my fortune, ran my foundation. I dated occasionally, carefully, always keeping one foot ready to run. Trust was something I was still learning. But every morning I woke up free. Every decision was mine. Every choice belonged to me. My grandmother had given me money, yes. But more than that, she'd given me proof that I was worth finding, worth saving, worth the years of searching and the elaborate inheritance and the careful protections. She'd given me back to myself. And that, I was learning, was the most valuable inheritance of all. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.